Prisons are typically constructed as facilities for punishment. Their primary function is to detain individuals who have committed offenses. However, other structures exist solely to delay what they contain. These structures are designed for temporary containment, not punitive measures. This distinction is crucial for understanding different types of confinement. It highlights varying purposes behind physical barriers and detention. A confinement structure's purpose is defined by its prisoner. If the prisoner is undefined, its function shifts from punishment to pure containment. Unused keys for centuries indicate a lack of intent for release. Seals in a state of suspended fracture suggest a perpetual, unyielding barrier. These conditions transform a punitive structure into an absolute containment mechanism. The abyssos is a significant concept mentioned in the Book of Revelation. It is depicted as a bottomless depth, representing an infinite chasm. This abyss is further described as a shaft located beneath the earth. A key characteristic is its secure closure, featuring a locked lid. Additionally, the abyssos possesses a sealed entrance, preventing access. Biblical texts deliberately omit details regarding the contents of the abyss. This omission emphasizes the critical importance of keeping its door closed. The absence of descriptive information is not an oversight. Instead, it represents a conscious, structural choice within the narrative. A symbolic star descends from a celestial realm, representing a significant event or entity. The star is presented with a key, signifying authority or the means to access something. This key is specifically for opening, not for the act of creation or construction. The action implies the pre-existence of a locked structure or condition awaiting release. The concept of giving a key implies a fundamental logical sequence of events. For a key to be meaningful, the structure it opens must already exist. This structure must have been in a state of being locked prior to the key's presentation. Furthermore, the structure must have been sealed, requiring a key for access. These conditions of existence, locked status, and sealing must precede the key's offering. Thus, the act of giving a key inherently confirms the pre-existence of these states. All structures are built with a fundamental necessity, serving a specific purpose or need. No construction is undertaken without an underlying reason or a clear objective in mind. Similarly, seals are never placed upon emptiness or a void. They secure something of value. The act of sealing implies the containment or protection of an important element. Therefore, if an abyss is sealed, it logically follows that it must contain something significant. This principle suggests that perceived voids often conceal hidden importance or substance. The breaking of the abyss seal initiates a profound transformation. Contrary to expectations, the initial emergence is not fire, but smoke. This smoke signifies an immediate shift from a state of clarity. It marks a transition towards an encompassing obscurity. The phenomenon represents a fundamental change in environmental conditions. The seal's fracture releases a significant volume of smoke into the atmosphere. This rising smoke rapidly darkens the ambient sky. The atmospheric darkening leads to a noticeable diminution of natural light. Visibility is severely blurred due to the dense smoke particles. These immediate effects highlight the environmental consequences of the fracture. The sequence demonstrates the direct impact on both the environment and visual perception. The primary consequence of a seal breaking is not immediate destruction. Instead, the foremost effect is the introduction of profound uncertainty. This shift represents a strategic outcome where clarity is fundamentally replaced by ambiguity. The absence of certainty hinders decision-making and creates an unpredictable environment. The text describes elements that emerge from a conceptual abyss. However, it deliberately provides no information about what remains within this abyss. This absence of detail is not an oversight, but a conscious narrative choice. Such an omission serves to create mystery or focus the reader's attention elsewhere. It is a strategic literary technique to shape the reader's understanding and engagement. Narrative texts often employ selective disclosure to guide audience focus. This technique prioritizes certain information while omitting other details. For instance, a text may highlight a key without revealing its architect. This omission is not accidental, but a deliberate narrative choice. It directs attention to the function of control rather than its origin. The focus shifts from who made it to how it operates or what it does. The text focuses on the door to the abyss, highlighting the concept of a boundary. This emphasizes the access point or threshold rather than the interior space. The chamber itself is not described, maintaining focus on the entrance. This narrative choice underscores the significance of the point of entry and transition. In ancient texts, the absence of specific detail is often not accidental. It frequently serves as a deliberate choice by the author. This omission is used to convey a particular meaning or emphasis. Such intentional gaps guide the reader's interpretation. They can highlight what is considered important by contrast. Understanding these omissions is key to deciphering ancient narratives. The concept of the abyss extends beyond a simple physical void or pit. It functions primarily as a critical threshold, marking a significant point of transition. This threshold is suspended between contrasting states, defining boundaries. It delineates the space between above and below, establishing a vertical division. Furthermore, it separates order from chaos and delay from release. The Watchers underwent judgment and were subsequently chained. They were then imprisoned deep beneath the Earth's surface. However, historical accounts never detail their ultimate destruction. This narrative suggests a form of perpetual containment rather than annihilation. The absence of destruction implies their continued existence in a confined state. Satan was confined to the abyss for a duration of 1,000 years. This confinement, however, did not result in his destruction or ultimate end. The abyss functions as a temporary holding place for entities. It is not a final destination or a place of permanent annihilation. Spirits expressed fear regarding their potential consignment to the abyss. This apprehension was not rooted in the perception of the abyss as an empty void. Instead, their fear stemmed from a profound belief in its contents. They believed something potent and undesirable resided within the abyss. This belief system fueled their deep-seated dread of the unknown entities it harbored. The distinction between symbolic and literal interpretations is crucial for understanding concepts. A symbolic representation conveys abstract ideas or meanings, not a physical reality. If an entity, like the abyss, is purely symbolic, it lacks physical attributes. In a symbolic context, physical objects such as a key would be irrelevant. The presence of a key implies a literal, tangible mechanism for access or control. Therefore, a key suggests the abyss is a physical, accessible entity, not merely symbolic. The concept of an abyss can be understood in both metaphorical and literal terms. If the abyss were purely metaphorical, representing an abstract danger or state of being, then physical restraints, such as chains, would be unnecessary. The presence of chains implies a need for concrete, tangible containment. This suggests the abyss possesses a physical reality, requiring physical means of restraint. Therefore, the existence of chains indicates a concrete, physical means of restraint. A seal serves as a fundamental security measure, not merely a decorative element. Its primary function is to establish a tangible boundary. This boundary acts as a protective mechanism. The seal ensures integrity and prevents unauthorized access or tampering. The implementation of any security measure intrinsically defines a boundary. This boundary is established to contain or protect against external threats. However, the very existence of such a boundary implies its potential for fracture. This suggests an inherent vulnerability, where containment could be compromised. The Book of Revelation describes a period of confinement lasting 1,000 years. This specified duration indicates a defined rather than indefinite period of restraint. Following this confinement, a release is explicitly detailed. This structure highlights a temporary and cyclical nature of the event. The concept of destruction implies an irreversible end, eliminating the possibility of return. When something is truly destroyed, its existence ceases, and it cannot be restored to its original state. Conversely, sealing represents a temporary containment, not an eradication. A sealed entity retains its inherent capacity to re-emerge or return. Sealing postpones an outcome, whereas destruction provides a definitive conclusion. This distinction highlights the difference between permanent elimination and temporary suppression. The concepts of the abyss and hell, while often conflated, possess distinct theological and conceptual differences. Hell is typically understood as a definitive and ultimate state of eternal punishment or separation from a divine presence. It represents a final destination for souls, signifying an irreversible condition. Conversely, the abyss is characterized as an intermediate layer, or a temporary holding zone. It serves as a provisional place of confinement or restraint, not a permanent end. Thus, the abyss functions as a transitional state, fundamentally differing from hell's finality. The concepts of hell and the abyss are often conflated but represent distinct theological ideas. Hell is typically understood as a definitive endpoint, signifying a state of ultimate and irreversible conclusion. It denotes a final destination, often associated with judgment and eternal consequence. Conversely, the abyss describes a process of confinement or a temporary state of restraint. It implies a holding place, characterized by delay or postponement, rather than absolute finality. Therefore, hell represents an end, while the abyss signifies a prolonged, but not necessarily eternal, process. The concept of bottomless depth presents an immeasurable expanse. This immeasurability suggests a profound sense of disorientation. Such a realm defies conventional spatial understanding. Within this disorienting depth, traditional linear time may not apply. The absence of a discernible bottom challenges our perception of limits. This phenomenon creates an environment where temporal rules are suspended. The concept of suspended time refers to events or entities held outside linear progression. This suspension does not equate to cancellation or permanent removal from existence. Instead, it signifies a temporary pause in an inevitable sequence of events. The eventual return or re-emergence of the suspended element is not avoided. Its re-emergence is merely delayed, implying an inherent and unavoidable return to the timeline. The concept of suspended potential describes states or entities that are temporarily inactive. When something is suspended, it does not cease to exist or disappear entirely. Instead, it enters a state of dormancy, awaiting future activation. This implies an inherent capacity or ability that is not currently being utilized. The suspended element retains its full potential, ready to be unleashed. It awaits an opportune moment or specific conditions to resume its activity or re-enter a system. Prisons are designed to manage various categories of threats. These threats are generally classified into two types: eliminable and non-eliminable. Eliminable threats can be mitigated or removed through security measures. The Abyss specifically addresses the challenges posed by non-eliminable threats. Threats are categorized based on their potential for complete removal or ongoing control. Threat elimination involves entirely removing a risk, ensuring it no longer poses a danger. When elimination is not feasible, threats are managed through strategic planning. Threat management includes postponement and careful calculation of future impacts and responses. The Abyss serves a critical function, distinct from a symbol of triumph or conquest. Its primary role is not to commemorate victory, but to operate as a maintenance mechanism. This mechanism is specifically engineered to achieve a particular state. It is designed to sustain a condition where complete eradication is prevented. Thus, the abyss actively works to maintain a state of non-eradication. Systemic isolation is a strategy for managing persistent threats within a system. This approach is employed when complete eradication of a threat is not feasible. The system isolates the threat, preventing its spread or broader impact. It then seals off the isolated element, containing it within defined boundaries. Finally, the threat is embedded within a temporal framework, managing its existence over time. Time inevitably erodes all things, demonstrating its pervasive influence on physical structures. Every seal, regardless of its initial strength, carries an inherent possibility of fracture. This principle highlights the impermanence of even the most robust containment systems. The passage of time acts as a constant force, gradually compromising integrity. The abyss may not release physical entities, but rather exert influence. What emerges is not creatures, but systemic distortion. This implies a threat that is abstract rather than corporeal. The danger manifests as pervasive, underlying disruption. The abyss may not be a mere location, but rather a conceptual protocol within a system. It could function as an initiation chamber or an interim quarantine zone for processes. Alternatively, the abyss might represent a layer designed for postponement or delay. A duration like 1,000 years may symbolize a cyclical process, not a fixed period. Similarly, a seal could denote an interval or phase, rather than a definitive end.